December 5th, 1872. In the middle of the vast freezing Atlantic Ocean, a British ship spots a vessel drifting aimlessly in the waves. As sailors board the ghost ship, what they find defies all human logic. There is no sign of a struggle. The cargo is entirely untouched. There is a 6-month supply of food and water. The crew's belongings, money, and clothes are still neatly packed in their cabins. But the ship is completely, utterly empty. 10 people vanished into thin air. To this day, it remains the greatest unsolved mystery in maritime history. This is the chilling true story of the Mary Celeste and the terrifying reality of what likely happened to her crew. Our story begins on November 7th, 1872, when the Mary Celeste set sail from New York Harbor, bound for Genoa, Italy. At the helm was Captain Benjamin Briggs, an experienced and highly respected mariner. With him were his wife, Sarah, their 2-year-old daughter, Sophia, and a hand-picked crew of 7 veteran sailors. For nearly a month, nothing was heard from them. Then, on December 5th, another ship, the Dei Gratia, was sailing about 400 miles east of the Azores. The captain, David Morehouse, spotted a ship on the horizon. It was moving erratically, its sails slightly torn, yawing in the wind. Morehouse signaled the ship. No answer. He ordered a boarding party to investigate. As his men climbed aboard the silent vessel, the only sound was the wind howling through the rigging. They called out. Silence. They searched the deck, the hold, and the living quarters. Not a single soul was on board, but the clues they left behind only deepened the nightmare. When you investigate a deserted ship, you expect to find a reason, a fire, a leak, or signs of a violent mutiny. The Mary Celeste offered none of these. The ship was in excellent condition. It was highly seaworthy. Down in the ship's hold, the cargo, 1,700 barrels of industrial alcohol, was almost entirely intact. This immediately ruled out pirates. Pirates would have taken the cargo and the crew's valuables. But the crew's gold, jewelry, and pipes were left sitting right on their desks. In the galley, provisions were perfectly stored. They had enough food and fresh water to last the entire crew for 6 full months. The captain's logbook was found on his desk. The final entry was dated November 25th, 10 days before the ship was discovered. The entry reported normal weather and normal conditions. Nothing was out of the ordinary. However, there were 3 chilling details. The ship's single lifeboat was missing. A thick rope was found tied to the back of the ship, trailing away into the dark ocean, with the end violently snapped. And under the captain's bed, a sword was found with strange dark stains on the blade. When the Dei Gratia brought the ghost ship into port, the world exploded with theories. The British authorities immediately suspected foul play. They accused the crew of the Dei Gratia of murdering the Mary Celeste crew to claim the salvage reward. But there was zero evidence of this. Others pointed to the dark stains on the captain's sword. Was it a bloody mutiny? Did the crew go mad, murder the captain and his family, and flee in the lifeboat? Forensic tests later proved the stains were not blood, they were just rust and seawater. Newspapers ran wild with supernatural claims, giant squids dragging the crew into the abyss, alien abductions, cursed waters. But the truth is usually much darker and much more human. Why would an experienced captain order his wife, his infant daughter, and his crew to abandon a perfectly good ship in the middle of the deadly Atlantic, taking nothing but a single lifeboat? But the mystery didn't end on the ocean. It continued in a courtroom. The British authorities in Gibraltar launched an official Admiral Court of Inquiry. The man leading it, Frederick Solly Flood, was convinced a brutal crime had taken place. He was paranoid, obsessed with the idea that the crew of the Dei Gratia, the men who found the ship, had actually ambushed the Mary Celeste, murdered everyone on board, and staged the ghost ship to claim a massive salvage reward. Solly Flood ordered a deep forensic examination of the ship. They found a deep cut on the ship's railing, which he claimed was from a bloody axe. They found what looked like bloodstains on the deck. For months, the men who saved the ship were treated like cold-blooded killers. But science proved Solly Flood wrong. The blood on the deck was just rust and dried seawater. The axe marks were naturally caused by the ship's own rigging tearing against the wood in the wind. There was zero evidence of a struggle. The court was forced to pay the rescuers, but the shadow of suspicion ruined their lives. What makes the story even more chilling is what happened to the Mary Celeste after the mystery. Sailors are superstitious people, and the ship was now considered deeply cursed. Nobody wanted to sail on a floating coffin. It was sold at a massive loss. Over the next 12 years, the ship seemed to bring disaster to everyone who owned it. It constantly caught fire, ran aground, and lost its captains to sudden illnesses. Finally, in 1885, its last owner intentionally crashed the ship into a coral reef near Haiti to commit insurance fraud. But the ship refused to sink completely. The fraud was discovered, the captain was ruined, and the cursed wooden skeleton of the Mary Celeste was left to rot away on the reef, taking its dark secrets into the abyss. Modern historians and maritime experts have pieced together the most terrifying and likely scenario. Remember the cargo? 1,700 barrels of raw industrial alcohol. When the cargo was finally unloaded months later, investigators noticed that 9 of the barrels were empty. They were made of red oak, a porous wood that allows fumes to leak. Imagine being Captain Briggs. You are in the middle of the ocean. Suddenly, the ship's hold fills with highly flammable alcohol vapor. The smell is overpowering. A single spark from a pipe or the friction of the ship could blow the Mary Celeste into a million pieces. Panic sets in. Briggs makes a split-second desperate decision to save his family. He orders everyone into the small lifeboat, tying it to the main ship with a thick tow line. The plan is to trail safely behind the Mary Celeste until the toxic fumes clear out. But the ocean is unforgiving. A sudden squall hits. The massive sails of the Mary Celeste catch the wind, pulling the ship forward with violent force. The tow line snaps. In the tiny lifeboat, Captain Briggs, his wife, his baby, and his crew watch in absolute horror as their massive, empty ship sails away from them, leaving them stranded in the middle of the endless Atlantic Ocean. They were never seen again. If you love mysteries that make you question history, hit the subscribe button. Until next time.